I actually I wondered if actual leadership was even part of what was supposed to be my calling.
Welcome to the Steps to Thrive podcast, a place for real talk about life and leadership for young Christians passionate to grow. Today, we're eager and excited to talk to Pastor Jeremy McMorris. He's been a friend and mentor for me over the years and really want to encourage you all by hearing from him about things related to life and leadership. He's a runner. He's even done triathlons, and he's currently pastoring in Texas. And I want to welcome you today, Jeremy, to the podcast, and love for you to maybe make a few words of introduction about yourself and fill in any bio that I may have missed. But we'd love to hear from you today.
Yeah, buddy. Man, it's great it's an honor to be on your podcast with you. And yeah, the idea of me being a triathlete, I mean, that was decades ago, and those were sprint distance triathlons. But I mean, when you say it, I kind of like the way it sounds, like pastor / triathlete. That sounds good. I love being a pastor. I pastor Paramount Baptist Church here in Amarillo, Texas. The Lord has allowed me to spend the overwhelming majority of my adult life in pastoral ministry, and love doing what I do. Have 4 kiddos, and ages 20 all the way down to 13, and very much enjoy hobbies like hunting, trying out new restaurants, drinking good coffee, reading good books, and maybe my favorite thing in the world is having a good conversation with good friends. So, yeah, man.
Okay,
Thanks
well, hopefully we'll have a great time today, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, man. My pleasure.
And so as we seek to encourage young people about life and leadership, we're going to do a few softball, easy questions to get things going, and then we'll dive into some questions that you can answer with some encouraging and insightful answers. And so we'll start out. What's your favorite restaurant?
Yeah, easy. My favorite restaurant here in Amarillo is a little dive called Bangkok Tokyo. I love it. It's not a chain. It's not a national anything. In fact, it closes 1 month out of the year when the owners go back to Thailand for the month. And the food is fantastic. I absolutely love it. If I was going to pick like a chain that everybody would be aware of, man, in the Southeast, I always loved Zaxby's, and then Raising Cane's is kind of, all across the country now.
Yeah.
Now, I cannot make it a habit of eating there. But man, every now and then, man, I'm just like, let's go. I got to get some of those fried chicken strips in me. So, I love those restaurants.
Cool. Sounds great. All right. Favorite sport?
Yeah. I mean, is it cheating if I say hunting? Am I allowed to say like all things hunting?
Well, if we're going to start out with a controversy, we can start out with that controversy. That's kind of like saying cheerleading is a sport. Some people are diehard yes, some people are diehard no. So it's up to you.
Yeah. So after that, I would say basketball. I love watching basketball. It's fast paced. I played it a little, not well, but played it a little. So yeah, basketball.
Cool. All right. Favorite place you've traveled?
Yeah. So you sent me these questions ahead of time, and I have been, like you, privileged to travel to a lot of different places. I was just last year in the city of Ephesus in the country of Turkey.
Wow.
And I was
Cool.
hosting. I wasn't the tour leader, but I was hosting a group of people on like a Journeys of Paul study tour. And of course, Paul went to Ephesus and wrote a letter that we all love. And the ruins in Ephesus, the country of Turkey, the part of it that I got to see was beautiful, and I absolutely loved being there. Yeah,
Very cool. I've never been there, but hopefully we get there one day.
yeah.
All right. Next question. Favorite book besides the Bible?
Yeah, man. So I would probably say A.W. Tozer's The Pursuit of God. And probably because of how God used it in my life during my college years. The concept of knowing God, and that like he can be known, he wants to be known, and we can grow in our knowledge of God. That book was a book that had been recommended to me, and I picked it up and read it, and I've read it several times through the years.
It's actually a fairly short book as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, super readable. Yeah.
Good to read and a readable book. All right. This is an interesting question next. The best purchase you've made in the last 6 months that cost less than $100?
Yeah, dude.
It may be a meal at Bangkok, Tokyo.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so, man. Yeah, I've thought about that a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that.
Okay.
Maybe
we might circle back around then.
Back to that one. Yeah, I'm not.
All right. And any favorite quote or maxim?
Yeah, so there's a silly one that I think I kind of coined. So, you can do it way better than in our house. We say, if you don't do things, you won't do things. And what that
That's
means
good,
is,
actually.
what's that?
Yeah, like, keep going. I
Yeah.
want you to hear your
Yeah. Yeah. So,
explanation.
I
I
mean,
like
if you
it.
don't do things, you won't do things. Sometimes there may be an opportunity that you're like, oh, I'm kind of tired, or a mission trip opportunity. And you think, oh, I don't know if I want to go to that country, or, some work opportunity that you're just maybe a little bit uncertain about, or an opportunity to travel, an opportunity to apprentice under someone. There can often be like a lot of little arguments that kind of scare you away from something. And you just think, well, I was hoping just to stay home this weekend and have kind of a restful weekend. Or you could have gone to the mountains hiking with your friends. And in our home, we just say, well, if you don't do things, you won't ever do
Yeah.
anything. And so
So good.
the meaning in our home is, when you're presented with an opportunity, somebody says, hey, you want to go with us and do this? That our
Right.
default mode, obviously, it's got to be something that pleases the Lord. It's got to be reasonably safe, but the default needs to be, like, let's do it.
Love it. Love it. Reminds me of the quote, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not original with me, though. I didn't coin that, but I don't remember who said that. But it's a good one that I've kept in mind as well. All right. So we're going to jump in to the questions.
All right,
Let's
man.
start out with one. Can you share an evidence of God's grace in your life, either in your past or something recently where you've seen God's obvious hand at work?
Yeah. Yeah. A few years ago, the Lord made it very clear to me and my family that there was a ministry transition opportunity that He wanted me to step into. And the way the Lord made that path clear and made it smooth for my family, we just see God's fingerprints all over it. There had been a season, really, for probably close to 3 years, where in my previous ministry, which is a wonderful church, I literally, this last weekend, yesterday, I preached in my former church. And but throughout about a 3-year window, I would kind of sense, somewhat subjectively, the Lord maybe preparing me for something next. There were some objective things going on in the life of my family that made me wonder, maybe now, maybe the Lord would move us. Maybe God's getting ready to do something, and would we kind of talk about it with my wife and a few close friends, and then would just kind of come to the conclusion, nope, the Lord wants me to stay right where I am, stay put, stay faithful, keep my head down, nose to the grindstone. There was a lot of wonderful fruitfulness and faithfulness from God in the ministry that we were in at the time. And then again, toward the end of those 3 years, I really, there kind of became a few more objective reasons why I believe the Lord might be moving us, and a growing, somewhat subjective sense that the Lord had a next step for us. And the way the Lord worked the details out beyond that, where Angie and I were just praying, Lord, make this really clear if there are some next steps. I had actually even looked into some other ministry areas and ministry opportunities, and the Lord just, door after door after door, closed. And then at a ministry opportunity that I would have never dreamed of, or even would have pursued myself through a dear friend of mine in ministry, became available, and the conversation began. And there were just a number of ways where it was clear the Lord's doing this, not me.
Yep.
I'm not manipulating, I'm not conniving, I'm not um this is not an ambitious pursuit. That it was really, God was very graciously opening up some opportunities. And then the other thing that the Lord graciously did, the scripture makes so clear that in a multitude of counselors there is safety. And I think sometimes,
Yep.
maybe when we're younger, we might assume that old guys like me, who are in their late 40s, don't have to get counsel anymore. That, like, maybe we're just wise and we talk to God and that sort of thing. I remember thinking that sometimes about old guys in their 40s when I was a young man in my early 20s. That's just not, I mean, Matt, you and I know that's just not the case. That I mean, I'm 48 years old, and I need the safety, the wisdom of godly men and women to speak into my life on a number of different subjects. And God really used the counsel of, I would say, 3 men in particular who really knew me well and saw this opportunity here at Paramount, and basically said, "Go, you need to do that." And the Lord knows that I can be very introspective, very second guessing and
Right.
reevaluating and feeling almost like I've got to have every facet figured out before I'm willing to step forward. And so when you talk about God's grace, seeing God's hand and experiencing God's grace in a decision, the ministry that I'm in currently, I just have seen God's fingerprints all over it. And Angie and I would both say it was just God's grace that moved us from where we were, which was in a wonderful ministry that we still to this day love, to a new ministry where the Lord's been growing us, and it's been a sweet season for us.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. One of the things you were talking about, asking for counsel, reminded me of something I read recently saying that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. And how, in a multitude of counselors, there is safety, and we can all continue to grow and to get input into our lives from other perspectives that can be helpful as people pray for us and care about us. So, thank you. And next
Yeah.
question. Speaking specifically of leadership, maybe share some of your leadership experiences and lessons about leadership that you've learned along the way.
Yeah. 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 I think I might think a little bit differently about leadership, but I hope that it will be really encouraging, especially when I was a younger man. I read most of the leadership books that I read, I found somewhat discouraging because I read them and I thought leaders, and maybe I was just misunderstanding or misreading or misinterpreting, but I thought I don't have the personality. I don't have this strong type A. I walk into the room and it's obvious I'm the leader, and the people need to kind of tune in and listen to me because I just can sit alone with the Lord and and then come out of my office with vision and mission, vision, value, those sorts of things. I tend to work far better in collaboration with other people.
Right.
I love hearing what other people that are, on the team along with me, what they have to say, what their thoughts are, even how their perception of what maybe we're gonna plan to do next, how they think it's going to work and what the obstacles and that sort of thing are. And so for a long time, I actually just I wondered if actual leadership was even part of what was supposed to be my calling. And
Mm,
over the course of years, and even and with talking with other leaders, I began to learn that leadership can be someone can lead out of the way God's wired them and strengthened them to lead.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think I was just slow to learn. I think maybe that's a principle that others get earlier on or come to understand earlier on. But as I looked at kind of the big leaders, whether it was in the corporate world or even in the evangelical world, and I tended to see strong, confident type A. I don't need to ask anybody. I know where we need to go and how to get there. And I always tended to be a little bit more like, I think I need a little bit of help to know where we need to go and a lot of help on how to get there. And what the Lord showed me was that I have one or two things that I'm decent at and then a lot of weaknesses. But the one or two things that I'm decent at is the Lord has allowed me to often pull people in, pull people together, and then listen to them, and then use their wisdom, and then collectively, and then as the lead pastor of my church, it is there are occasions where somebody's got to make the decision, and so the Lord has grown even my not just my desire, but even my confidence in okay, I've gotten the input. I've listened to my staff. I've really given careful thought to their input, and now somebody's got to make a
Yep.
decision. And God has now called me to lead. Like you got to lead. So yeah, but leading out of the the people that God has put around me, calling them together, being a very collaborative leader. Um, I didn't realize that was a thing that one could do until relatively recently, and so that's been encouraging to me to
Hmm.
yeah to just realize my leadership doesn't have to look exactly like someone else's leadership. That I can lead out of the strength that the way the Lord's wired me, and then even trusting that the people that God has put around me, that they actually will thrive under the the leadership. Like God has given me to be their leader, and they
Right.
thrive under my style of leadership.
I'll say, just speaking as a friend, that's something I've really appreciated about watching you lead and interact with others, not assuming to be the one with the answers, but being very willing and eager to ask for input. And the quote that says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I think you and I both feel very comfortable in a lot of rooms because we're by far not the
Yeah.
smartest person in the
Oh yeah.
room, but God in his mysterious grace and kindness has given you currently in this role of pastor an opportunity to lead and influence others and to collaboratively go along and grow along with the body there at your church and see your gifts being expressed and magnified. So
Thanks,
press
man.
on in your
Praise
leadership journey and keep
all
loving.
glory to God. Yeah, you've known me
Amen.
long enough to know that that is certainly true. So, yeah.
Cool. So, from a practical standpoint, and again, like the tagline of this podcast is real talk about life and leadership. I'm not trying to gloss over, and I appreciate your transparency. And none of us have it all figured out and want to continue to learn and take steps to thrive, little
Mhm.
steps over time. What are some practical insights or advice you would even give for the college student or the recent college grad about just life and leadership as he
Yeah.
or she may be taking those steps?
Yeah. Yeah, on life, I've got 2 children that are in college, and, they've grown up in my home, and there's been, 10,000 different things that we've talked about. But when they were leaving for college, I said, there are 3 relationships apart from your relationship just directly with God, right? That's first and foremost. But there are 3 relationships that are really important, and I think that this order is an order of priority. So first of all, the church you attend is going to have the most significant influence on you long term. Get in a good church and roll up your sleeves and get involved. Minister, let church be number 1.
Amen. Preach.
The friends that you pull into your life. I was talking with someone about this just yesterday or the day before. It was during my college years that I realized that you could choose your friends. Like I just kind of assumed friendships happen. You kind of have affinity with people, and then you're either, you're friends with them because you happen to be in proximity to them, and you proximity and affinity.
Mm,
And then I realized, oh, wait a second, like there are some smart people, some godly people, some capable people that I'm watching them and I'm going like, I want what they have. I want their influence in my life. And I began to realize, like, you can actually choose your friends. You can choose who you out with. You invite people to
that is
lunch, and
great advice.
yeah. So a companion of fools will be destroyed, but he that walks with wise men will be wise. And so, church is number 1, friendship is number 2, and then thirdly is your education or your vocation, right? Like those are important, but I think a lot of times for college age, we are inclined to think the choice of the institution is the number 1 most important thing. And I would say it's number 3. It's very important. It's not unimportant. It's very important. And, with my children, we prayed and talked, and that has been a very, very important part of the decision. But church is I think just biblically it's the most important. And then friendships, and then education or vocation are going to be, they're very important, but are third most important. When you are a single, person in that college career age, you get married, and you get kind of post the choice of vocation and the choice of education, and your roles and priorities might change a little bit. But for the college student, that's what I would say. Those 3 relationships: church, friends, and where you go to college, in that order.
That is really, really good
Yeah.
advice. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So that's what I would say for life. And then the thing I would say for leadership is lean into opportunities to lead. If you have opportunity to lead as a shift leader at the job that you're working, your 15-hour a week job that you're working during college, and they're looking for a shift leader, and you might think, "Oh, I don't know if I want the responsibility. I don't know if I, want to," like, I would say, make in general be inclined toward leading
Right.
other people. Take those opportunities. Look for ways to influence and bless. I read a great book a while back. It's one of Patrick Lencioni's books. I can see it right over there.
Okay.
about
He's
leadership.
great.
And he says there's really two reasons we lead. Number one is we lead for ourselves, just selfish ambition. We can make more money, we can promote ourselves, or we lead to serve others. And I mean, I know you, I know what you say, I know what you champion and what you highlight. But even for the college student to be aware, this is an opportunity for me to serve others, for me to serve my friend group. I mean, even little things like there's got to be a captain on the ultimate frisbee team. I think
Right.
sometimes people are just like they step aside, they step away, they don't want that. And I would encourage people step toward leadership opportunities in your early 20s for you to lead your shift well at your fast food restaurant, for you to be the captain who leads your ultimate frisbee team for whatever the venue. It's an opportunity to serve other people. So don't think, oh, that's too small. And don't think I'm scared. Like, do it scared. Step into it. Ask
So good.
someone. Yeah, that do it scared. That's another phrase.
Do
That's a
it
McMorris
scared.
phrase. Yeah,
That's
that's not
good.
original with us, but that's another thing that gets said at our home pretty often. And sometimes it's me saying it to my wife or my wife saying it to me, right? It's
Right.
that phrase doesn't just get spoken to our children. That's something that I have to look in the mirror sometimes and go, all right, bro, do it scared. So
I need to use that more with my kids. That's really good. Do it scared.
scared.
I remember it's a maxim saying courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward in spite of the fear. Just
Yep.
taking that next step and
Yeah,
trusting God for the courage to take
that's
that
right.
next step.
That's right.
But that's
Yeah.
good. Leaning into leadership opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, last question, and you're my
Okay.
first podcast interview, but I'm hoping to make this question a
Okay.
tradition ending. And
Right.
basically, it's called the last word. Share anything about anything that you think could encourage young Christians passionate to grow in their walk with the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually going to be somewhat similar to guarding those three relationships: church, friends, and education, vocation. I actually shared this. I spoke this weekend at a marriage conference, and I actually just spoke to the men at one session at a breakfast early in the morning. It was a pretty laid back environment, and I encouraged them to know their roles and the priority of their roles. So, for instance, just to illustrate, I'll use my top four roles. I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a pastor. Now, there's other roles I occupy. I'm an uncle. I'm a nephew.
Right.
Like, there's other important roles. I'm a friend. There's plenty of other roles that I occupy, but the four big ones: I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a pastor. If you looked at my calendar, the amount of time that I give to those four things are in inverse proportion, a reverse proportion. I'm not sure which word I'm supposed to use there. I spend the most amount of time on the calendar. I spend more time doing pastoral work than
Right.
I do parenting work. And I probably spend more time parenting with the kids, talking with the kids, than I do husbanding. And it's possible that I actually spend more time during the week talking with, hanging out with, in fellowship with my wife than I do like during my morning quiet time.
Right.
And I think that's okay, right? But the principle here is nothing below can threaten anything above. So here's what I mean by that. When I teach this, and this is not original with me, I use a whiteboard, right? So I've drawn at the top Christian, and then husband, and then father, and then pastor. I spend the most amount of time down here pastoring, and then the second most amount of time parenting, and then the third most amount of time husbanding, and then the least amount of time on my calendar.
Right.
But nothing below can threaten anything above. So, for instance, my work cannot threaten my parenting, and my parenting
Right.
cannot threaten my husbanding, and my husbanding cannot threaten my time with, my relationship with the Lord.
Right.
But nothing below can threaten anything above. My parenting can't threaten my time with the Lord. My work can't threaten my time with my wife. And so I don't do it anymore, but I used to. There was a season of life where I like literally had the four things written out, and I would have them laid next to my computer, and then I would look at my calendar for the week, and I would go, where am I guarding my time with the Lord? I'm going to be in church on Sunday morning. I'm going to have time with the Lord every morning at this time. Okay, priority number one is represented and is safe on my calendar. When am I going to spend time with Angie? Okay, we're going to have these dinners together at home, but Friday morning, and this is our current rhythm. Friday morning, we go out for coffee, and we have
Cool.
an hour and a half that's guarded every Friday morning. And that, if you were to be a fly on the wall, you might think this is one of the most unromantic coffee dates ever. We're going to talk about our finances. We're going to talk about problems in our marriage. We're going to talk about problems with the kids, right? I mean, she literally brings a list. There's some friends of ours who have they use a shared Apple Notes, and that's how they do it, right? So that's safe and protected on my calendar.
Right.
I'm thinking through, okay, what am I doing with my kids this week? Where am I going to have some time with them? Again, family meals together, taking, right now, taking my youngest son to his 4th event on
Cool.
Monday. That's stuff that we do together.
And for those of you listening who don't know what 4-H is, you can Google it and learn about that on Google. So carry on.
It's kind of a, that's true. It's kind of a country. It's a more rural
You
thing.
Texas people.
Yeah. I don't even remember what the 4 H's are. I'll have to remind myself.
Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and 4-H trap shooting is getting ready to start.
Okay.
And I'm all in. Yeah. And so again, that priority is protected, even though the majority of my week is going to be taken up with work stuff. And then I can look at the calendar and see where the work stuff is. So that's a really, really simple, practical tip that has served me. I can hardly tell you how well. In fact, it has become such a way for me to think that it's literally how my prayer list is organized.
Cool.
The first section of my prayer list is Christian. What are the things I'm praying about for God to do in my life? What are the sins that need to be repented of? What are the areas of weakness that I want to see growth in? What are the heavy burdens that I need to cast upon the Lord? Christian. And then, okay, what do I need to be praying about for my relationship with my wife? Thirdly, in each of my kids is listed, and needs in their lives are written there. And then, for pastoral work underneath that. So I really conceptualize a lot of my work, my life, just the way that I'm kind of thinking about life through those 4 things.
Cool. That is really helpful.
Somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I've been helped. I liked how you described it and how threatening and not threatening things can and should be in that
nothing
in that
below
category.
Can threaten anything above. Yeah.
Yep. That's really good. Well, thank you for taking the time today to connect and to share some of your experience and wisdom with us. It's been a blessing. And for those listening, stay awesome, stay on the narrow path, taking steps to thrive for God's glory.